Hey there, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever applies to you, depending on when you're watching this and where you may be watching this from. If you're watching this live, I'll say good evening to you. Thank you for joining me for day number 9 of Everyday Spirituality. Give me a moment to do what I always do. Let me share this with my groups. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to ask you do the same thing. I want you to share this on your personal page, share this in your groups, and engage, comment, and be a part of the discussion. All right, so we should be all set there. Thank you so much for joining me again for day number 9 of Everyday Spirituality. Running a couple minutes late, but glad to be here. And tonight we're going to talk about forgiveness, the highest form of love and the highest form of consciousness. Um, with God being the very consciousness that exists in and through all things, God being consciousness itself, it is also the highest form of godliness, okay? Of being like God, the highest form of God consciousness, forgiveness. All right, so tonight, family, we're going to go into something that I believe represents the highest vibration of love, the highest level of awareness, the highest level of consciousness, the highest level of God consciousness, and the highest expression of God awareness. And that is forgiveness, the highest form of love. Now, notice I didn't say the easiest form, it is not the most comfortable form. It is not the most human form, but it is the highest spiritual form. It is the greatest form of or expression of God that can exist in humanity and among humanity. And the greatest example we have is Jesus on the cross. According to the narrative, whatever you believe about it, we're going to talk about Jesus on the cross. Hey, my spiritual daughter. Hey there, darling. I'm so glad to see you. I love you. I didn't have a chance to read all of your messages, but I definitely will, and we will talk very soon. But the best example we have of this, regardless of what you feel about the story and its historicity. Yes, but look, I can't get the right word there. Still may have said it wrong, but the greatest example is Jesus on the cross. The scripture says in Luke 23 and 34, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. These are the words that Jesus spoke, according to the narrative, on the cross, almost at the point of his death. And he speaks to his murderers. He speaks to his murderers. And, well, he speaks to the infinite source we call God. I got that wrong. He speaks to God on behalf of his murderers and says to the Father, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is forgiveness at its highest frequency, forgiveness at its most divine level. This is forgiveness that is fully aligned with God consciousness. Um, and here's what makes this moment so powerful. Jesus actually said these words in a moment where, from a human and an ego perspective, he was fully entitled to walk in the spirit of offense. He was fully entitled to walk in offense. He was fully entitled to anger, entitled to resentment, entitled to what we might call justice, and entitled to revenge. But he chose the spirit instead of the ego. He chose spirit instead of ego. He chose love instead of offense. He chose awareness and wisdom instead of, let's leave wisdom out of that. He chose awareness instead of reaction. He chose consciousness instead of entitlement. This is why I always say that forgiveness, well, I always talk about being and allowing. And forgiveness is a form of being and allowing. I'm always talking about being and allowing. Forgiveness is, I believe, one of the highest frequencies, the highest vibration, maybe I should say, of being and allowing. It is the moment where the ego steps to the side and the spirit takes the lead. So here we have, I'm not going to be long here, probably about 15, maybe 20 minutes, but here we have Jesus on the cross according to the story. And now let me say this, even as I go into this, before I go any further, was this a historical event? Some believe yes, others believe no. But what I want to say about that is that regardless of where you fall historically, the lesson speaks volumes to humanity. Because whether this was literal or metaphorical, this captures the essence of what it really means to be spiritually awake, of what it really means to walk in the spirit, of what it really means to be conscious, what it really means to be aware, excuse me. Now, I like the words that Jesus chose here, according to the narrative, the words that the writer chose here, whatever the case may be. The words used here are equally as powerful and give us a great lesson in awareness. For the words he uses here, not just forgive them, but he says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is profound. This is awareness right here. This is God consciousness here, guys. Because look at what Jesus says. Father, don't just forgive them, but here's why I'm vibrating at this frequency of forgiveness for my murderers. He says, because they know not what they do. Jesus understood something about human behavior that most of us never even consider. And that is, Jesus understood people are only capable of behaving at the level of their consciousness. They were operating from their ego, not from awareness. They were operating from their fear. They were scared of Jesus. They were scared of the effects of this Jesus movement. They were operating from their fear, not from spirit. They were operating from their religious text and their ego concerning the understanding of their text, and not from spirit. They were operating, in other words, from their conditioning. They weren't operating from a place of clarity. They were operating from their upbringing, from their traditions, from their teachings, not from spirit, not from awareness, not from divine insight. They were only capable of behaving at the level of their consciousness, or they were only able to operate from the inner resources that they had. And their inner resources were what? Their upbringing, their traditions, their teachings, their interpretations of the scriptures, and their interpretations and perspectives of God. And this is why they killed Jesus, because of those inner resources. That's all they had. And this is what they were operating from. And Jesus understood that. Jesus understood that people are only capable of behaving at the level of their consciousness. So Jesus says, using the highest level of awareness, Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Guys, Understand this. People are only doing the best they can with the inner resources that they have, their beliefs, their values, their culture, their family history, their upbringing, their understanding, the DNA, their genetics. They are only doing the best they can with the inner resources that they have. And we have to realize this. But it's not easy to realize this. Remember what I said in the beginning, that although this is the highest form of love, the highest form of God consciousness, is not the easiest form, and it's not the human form. It's not what we do naturally. Now, naturally from ego perspective, the flesh, it is what we do naturally from spirit, okay, from the real core of ourselves. But ego often overshadows that. So people are doing the best they can. Let me finish this. People are doing the best they can with the resources they have. Or with, I like to say, let me rephrase that, with the inner resources that they have. People can only behave based on the level of consciousness that they currently possess. I like something Paul said in the scripture. The context of this is not even important. It's the words that he used. He chose to use at some point. He says, and such were some of you. Don't forget who you are, who you were. Okay? Don't forget where you came from. You only knew what somebody else knows at one point in your life, possibly. Okay? They were doing what they know to do. So when Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, Jesus was saying, they only know to do what they're doing. So, Father, forgive them because this is all they know. Father, forgive them because they're doing the best they can with the inner resources that they have. Jesus was not making excuses for them. He wasn't making excuses for them. He was expressing awareness. Awareness of their ignorance. Awareness of their conditioning. Awareness of their religious programming. Awareness of their limited perception. Awareness of their limited understanding of God, awareness of their interpretation of their maybe misplaced interpretation of all things spiritual. Because you got to understand, in the highest form of awareness, you're not just aware of yourself, but you are aware of others. So when Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, Jesus was expressing awareness of their ignorance, awareness of their religious programming, awareness of their limited perspective. He saw their humanity. Yes, they were blind, but he saw their blindness and didn't hold it against them. He saw that they thought they were actually doing God's will. Because in their minds, guys, and my time is almost up, because in their minds, he was a blasphemer. He was a blasphemer, y'all. In their minds, this man is a blasphemer. Therefore, they sincerely believed that they were protecting the faith. They were actually feeling like they were doing the will of God, doing the work of God, and protecting the faith, protecting the integrity of the faith by crucifying this man. So people's behavior is shaped by what they sincerely believe is right, even when it's wrong. Let me say it again. You got to understand this. People's behavior is shaped by what they sincerely believe is right, even if it's wrong. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. You see, forgiveness, forgiveness requires God consciousness, not ego. You see, forgiveness is hard. Excuse me, real quick. Excuse me. I'm going to call you right back. All right. Forgiveness is hard when you live in ego. Forgiveness becomes natural when you ascend into God consciousness. I felt that in my bones, guys. Because ego says, they hurt me. They were wrong. They deserve consequences. They need to apologize. They should pay. I'm entitled to justice. But God consciousness says they acted from their unconsciousness or from the level of consciousness they possess, or they operated from their wounds. God consciousness says they behaved from their fear. God consciousness says they couldn't do better with the mind that they had. God consciousness says they're trapped in ego, just like all of us has been. Remember, I talked about Paul, and such were some of you. God consciousness says they're not evil, they're blind. And this is why Jesus on the cross, according to the narrative, whether you believe in the historicity of it or not, whether you believe in that or not, and I probably still slaughtered that word because it's like, but whether you believe that it's historical or not, this is why in that narrative, Jesus is depicted showing forgiveness so quickly, because this is a Jesus in the story. This is a Jesus that understood that ignorance was driving them, not intention, ignorance. And hear me, when you understand someone's consciousness, forgiveness becomes easier. I forgive them because they really don't know what they're doing. They're really only operating from the inner resources that they have. Like I say all the time, doing the best they can with the best they got. Forgiveness is the highest form of love. Why? Because forgiveness, I got 5 minutes and I'm going to close this out. Forgiveness is the highest form of love because forgiveness is the moment that you choose spirit over ego. It's the moment you choose mercy over your entitlement, and you choose to understand instead of judge. You choose to operate in awareness over reaction. You choose your consciousness instead of your conditioning. You choose healing over hurt. Forgiveness is the moment that you actually release the need to see others punished. Are you hearing me? In a moment when, back to the cross, in a moment when they deserved, those who were killing Jesus while he's on that cross, in a moment when they deserved punishment from God, Jesus requested mercy from God on their behalf. This is the highest form of love. This is the highest form of consciousness. This is God consciousness being embodied in real time. Forgiveness is a reality of the aware. People without awareness hold grudges. People without awareness stay angry. People without consciousness who are stuck in ego cling to offense. But I thought about a scripture, Galatians 6:1. Galatians 6:1 says, ye who are spiritual. Come on, somebody. If any man be overtaken in a fault, it didn't say punish them. It says, if any man be overtaken in a fault, ye who are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself also lest you also be tempted. So don't ever say never. Oh, no, I would never do that. Never me. Listen, I learned my lesson, y'all, from saying never. And I have arrived at the point of never saying never. Because a lot of the stuff years ago in my religiosity that I said I will never do, I did most of those things. Hold on, guys. This is my pizza. Hold on. Y'all stay right there. Don't go nowhere. Stay right there, y'all. Hey, it should be open. Let's see. Come on. I tried to work. Y'all, I'm coming. Hold on, y'all. I'm just coming. I'm coming. Woo. Sorry. I ordered a pizza. Okay. I got to figure out what I was saying. Where was I? I don't know, but anyway, I know I was talking about forgiveness is the reality of those that walk in awareness or something like that. And I know I had mentioned that people that are not conscious, that are not awareness, that are not aware, and that are not spiritual, they hold grudges, they stay angry, they cling to offense. And I do remember saying that. I do remember saying the scripture, ye who are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. So those that are not spiritual, they hold grudges, they stay angry. But the spiritual, the awakened, the conscious, here's what they say: I understand. And y'all, I know this is not easy. Remember I said that in the beginning? It's the highest form, not the easiest form. It's the highest form of love, the highest form of awareness, the highest form of consciousness, the highest form of spirituality, but not the easiest form. Because in consciousness, awareness, and spirituality, and Christ consciousness, being like Christ, we don't hold grudges, we don't stay angry, we don't look for people to be punished. But the awakened mind, the conscious mind, the spiritual mind says, I understand. I see your conditioning. I see your trauma. I see your ignorance. I see your ego. I forgive you because you literally, like Jesus said, I forgive you because you literally did not know what you were doing. This level of awareness and spirituality, this takes strength. This takes maturity. This takes consciousness. This takes spirit. Because forgiveness is not, let me say this, guys, it's not passive. It's not weak. And forgiveness is not denial. Forgiveness, I'm not going to act like you didn't do anything. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not ignoring offense. Forgiveness is acknowledging offense, but also walking in enough awareness to understand that people only respond and react and behave from the level of inner resources that they possess. Forgiveness is clarity. Forgiveness is freedom, y'all. Forgiveness is awareness. And let me put this on the screen, this comment that Rebecca said. Like I just said, forgiveness is freedom. Because as she said here, if you hold on to unforgiveness, you become physically sick. And it keeps you from loving life and becoming a bitter person. And, there's also a saying that says unforgiveness is like drinking deadly poison and expecting your offender to die or to get sick. So forgiveness is freedom, guys. Forgiveness is a form of being and allowing. Forgiveness is not forcing people to change. Forgiveness is not fixing people. Forgiveness is not controlling people. Forgiveness is saying, I allow you to be human. I allow you to be imperfect. I allow you to behave according to your consciousness, or to behave and do the best you can with the best you got, and behave according to the inner resources that you have, because I understand you're doing the best you can with the inner resources that you possess: culture, family upbringing, religious background, interpretation and perspective of God, all of those things. You're doing the best you can with the inner resources you have. So I allow you to behave according to your level of consciousness. Okay? But I will not let your behavior imprison my spirit, because forgiveness is also the highest form of letting go. So, guys, hear me. I'm 6 minutes over my time, but I'm closing. Forgiveness is the highest form of love. Forgiveness is the highest form of awareness. It's the highest form of consciousness. It's the highest form of spirituality. And the root of awareness is God consciousness. It's the realization that we're all connected. We're all growing. We're all learning. We're all evolving through different levels of consciousness at different times. And forgiveness frees you. Forgiveness expands you, awakens you, enlightens you, aligns you with the spirit, raises your vibration, breaks your ego, and it shifts you. It shifts your mind, shifts your consciousness. Forgiveness is the highest form of spirituality. So tonight, this is my personal affirmation. You can say it with me like we do every night if you want to. Tonight's affirmation is real simple. I choose love. I choose awareness. I choose forgiveness. I release ego, and I rise into God consciousness. If this message is helping you grow, as I say every night, if it's shifting your consciousness, awakening your spirit, I want to invite you to experience life at the Spiritual Life Center, 1519 Bartow Place, Greensboro, North Carolina, every Sunday at 12 noon. The Spiritual Life Center is a place to heal, a place to evolve, a place to grow, a place to expand and awaken. It's where love leads, where forgiveness leads, and forgiveness elevates, and where consciousness is honored, and where there is spiritual transformation, and the spiritual transformation is real. You belong here at the Spiritual Life Center, where we acknowledge the God outside of us without ignoring the God inside of us. Guys, it's been great. I'm getting ready to eat. Thank you for joining me for day 9 of Everyday Spirituality. I'll see you tomorrow for day number 10. Have a good night. See ya. If I can end it, I'm trying to hit the button to end it. Okay, there we go.